Welcome learners. Today I would like us to look at the wages, salaries and accounting services. In any organization we have wages, we have salaries and we have how we are supposed to calculate the two. Let us start with the definition of wages and salaries. Start with the wages. Wages, these are the payments made to workers who are on a casual basis or temporary workers. For example, PG factory workers. So, the wages are made to those people who work in a temporary basis or they are not permanent in the employment. Then we have salaries. These are payments made to workers by the employer for those people who are working for permanent or regular basis. The salaries are made mostly to managers and also we have permanent employees, mostly civil servants. Okay, now I would like us to look at how you control the wage payment, how you are going to control the wages. So let us look at the wage control. Now that is the accounting services which is done in an office or in an organization. So when you are paying wages, you must have a system which you are supposed to follow in any organization. So the system of paying wages is of great importance in any organization. So correct amount of wages must be paid the employees at the right time. Correct amount of wages should be paid to the employees at the right time. So when we say at the right time, we mean specifically as you indicated in the contract, you are supposed to pay your employees the same date. Don't pay earlier or don't pay late. So if wages are not paid in the right manner, they are going to incur a loss in an organization. That's why we want to look at how you are supposed to control wage payments. So in order to prevent the wages fraud, in order to control the wages fraud, when we say fraud, we mean theft or stealing or corruption. So in order to control wages fraud, the following steps should be taken. The first step the steps to be taken when you are controlling wages. Step number 1, the names of workers employed. The names of workers employed should be checked with the name of the workers to whom wages are paid. So the names of workers employed should be checked with the name of employee paid. So when you are paying your employees, before you pay, make sure you check the name of the employee whom you employed and the one who is presenting herself or himself for payment. That's very important in order to control fraud. Somebody can present himself or herself as one of the employees, and maybe he can steal the ID, the national identification card, and come for the payment. That is stealing. So it is better to check the name of the employee to whom you employed and the one whom you are paying. So if they are different, don't pay. Then you must have the personnel records. So these personnel records must be checked regularly. Personnel records should be checked time in time. Every time, regularly. Make sure you check the personnel records. In most cases, the personnel records include the payroll, and we have the employee card, or we call it worksheet, that is the payroll. Make sure you check those records time to time. Another step which you are supposed to follow when you want to prevent wage frauds is that time records and piecework records must be maintained accurately. Time records and piece rate records must be maintained accurately. Must be maintained accurately. So when we say time records, remember we are going to look at the methods of calculating wages. So in most companies, or in all of them, you can either pay by following the time the workers work, or by looking at the number of items which the worker has produced. That's the output. So when we say time records, we are going to record the time in and the time out, so that you can get the number of hours worked by each employee. Then piece rate, you are going to count the items made. You record in that record, piece rate records. So step number 4, the wage sheets should be signed by all persons responsible in preparation of wages. Wage sheets should be signed by all persons responsible in preparation of wage sheet. Wage sheet is the payroll. It should be signed by all persons responsible in preparation of wages. When you are preparing how much you are going to pay your employees, make sure all responsible persons, or those who are in authority, they sign, so that they can approve the payment of the wages. Then total wages should be compared with the original estimate of costing department. Total wages should be compared with original estimate of costing department. So when you prepare the wages sheet, make sure the total which you get, you compare that total with the one which you have been given by the cost or the costing department. make sure you compare. If there is any division or the difference, you are supposed to inquire why there are some differences in the figures. Okay, in most cases, if you want to prevent fraud, in every step or the stages of preparation of the wages, you should assign different employees. So the various stages of wage preparation should be assigned to different employees. For example, before you pay any employee, you have the departmental heads. Make sure you get some records from the departmental heads. Then get another information or details about the employee from the manager concerned. Then go to the accounts department, get the same figures. Then you go to the human resource, then you compare so that you get the right figure to be paid to an employee. Also, when you are giving out the wages, make sure the employees or the workers sign. So receipts of wages should be that is signed by the workers. So receipt of wages should be duly signed or duly signed by workers. Okay, another step, when you are going to withdraw money from the bank, you want to withdraw money from the bank for payment, make sure the amount drawn from the bank should tally with the actual amount required. Amount withdrawn from the bank should tally, when we say tally, we mean should be the same as the amount which is supposed to be paid. So for example, you want to, maybe the total amount to be paid is 100,000 or 100,630. Let me give this figure. So when you go to the bank to withdraw money, make sure you withdraw the same amount. Don't withdraw 11,000 or 110,000. The extra amount is going to be stolen by the accountant or the paying department. So make sure you withdraw the exact amount of money which is required. If these coins, make sure you have the exact number of notes and the coins which are supposed to be paid to an employee. So any unpaid wages should be deposited in the bank immediately. Any unpaid wages should be deposited to the bank immediately. Remember, even the accountant is a human being. He has some problems. So after paying all the employees and there is unpaid wages, don't keep it in the office. Make sure you take the remaining amount back to the bank immediately, the same day. Because if you keep it in the office, you might misuse it, or it can be like now a trial to you, a temptation. You can use it as an accountant. Make sure you return the amount which has not been paid to the bank. Never pay any employee on behalf of the other, or never allow any employee to receive payment for another employee. So now I would like us to look at the wages procedure. Which procedure are you going to use when you are paying the wages? Wages procedure. So before you pay wages, we said you must calculate the wages, or you must prepare a payroll so that you can understand how much you are going to pay each employee. So the procedure of calculation of payment and payment of wages is established in all organizations. You must establish a procedure according to your organization. Which procedure will you like to use when you are paying the wages? So the main purpose of preparing the procedure is to calculate the wages and make sure you fulfill the legal requirements, you provide adequate information, complete the accounting records, and also to ensure proper use of amounts deducted for the reasons of maybe compulsory deductions. So I'm going to look at that. But first, let us look at that procedure. So that procedure means you are going to prepare a payroll. You prepare a payroll. So in this payroll, you are going to show the amount or the number of hours. First of all, you show the number of hours worked. You show the amount of tax which you are going to pay. So the amount of all deductions, you get the net pay. Then you get the amount due. So let us define a payroll. A payroll is a worksheet or a wages sheet. It's a wages sheet which shows the name, number of the employee, hours worked, wage rate, deductions, and the net pay. Net pay of all employees in an organization. So a payroll shows the details of all employees in one sheet. So each employee is going to receive a pay slip, which is going to show individual payment or the amount which individual employee is going to receive as payment. So every month the payroll should be prepared. So a separate wages sheet, that's a payroll, is prepared for each month. A separate payroll is prepared for each month. If it is June, we have a payroll for June, payroll for July. For the 12 months in a year, we have 12 payrolls, and also the pay slips will be 12. Yeah, it is so details for each month. So in most cases, when you are preparing the payroll, you can either use numbers, that's the work employee number, or you can use names, employee names, or you can use both, the two. So in most cases, if we are using numbers, we start with number 1. If we are using names, we start with letter A. Any name of the employee starting with the letter A is the one which is supposed to be on top of the wages sheet or the payroll. So the following procedure is adopted to prepare a payroll. The following procedure is adopted to prepare a payroll. So the first step, the number of hours worked. Number of hours worked is multiplied by the wage rate per hour. Is multiplied by wage rate per hour. So the number of hours worked by each employee is multiplied, number of hours is multiplied by the wage rate per hour. So when you multiply the number of hours with the wage rate, the amount which you are going to get, you are going to add the overtime worked. So after getting the total from number of hours worked and the wage rate, we get the basic, we call it basic wage. Then you add the incentives. Incentives are the overtime and the commissions and the bonuses. So after adding, maybe you have some deductions, you deduct the deductions for you to get the net pay. So step 1, the number of hours worked and multiplied by wage rate per hour. Then overtime worked is multiplied by wage rate, which is applicable to overtime worked. In most cases, wage rate for overtime is more than the wage rate for normal working hours. According to the Constitution, overtime is supposed to be paid 1.5, that's 150%. So you multiply the hours, the overtime worked, by the wage rate which has been agreed in that organization for you to get the overtime payment. So in this case, when you have the basic wage plus the overtime, we get the gross wage. Basic wage plus overtime, we get gross wage. Okay, so after getting the gross wage, we record the gross wage in a separate column. Remember, number of hours is recorded in this column, the wage rate a column, and the total deductions, they have a column. I'm going to show you the format. Then you have the income tax. Step 2, the income tax payable to each employee is calculated under the system of pay as you earn. Now you calculate the income tax per employee. Remember, income tax is paid according to how much you earn. So that's why we call it pay as you earn. The higher you earn, the more you pay as income tax. So you calculate it according to the amount each employee is going to earn. So this tax amount is entered into pay as you earn column of payroll. Then we have the other contributions. See, the contributions of each employee regarding the National Social Security Fund and the National Hospital Insurance Fund, that is NSSF and NHIF, are also shown in respective columns. So the two are compulsory deductions, and these payments should be forwarded by the employee to respective departments. Then the total deductions for each employee are shown in a separate column. You get the total deductions, pay as you earn, NSSF, NHIF, you get the total deductions, you write in there a separate column. Then the total deductions are subtracted from the gross wages. Total deductions are subtracted from the gross wage, and net wages are entered into another column. Any advance which has been given to any employee or loan repayment are subtracted to find out the wages payable. So after deductions, you get the net pay. Then you subtract, if there is any loan which an employee is supposed to pay, you deduct from the net wages to get wages payable, or we call it wages due to an employee. But if there is no any loan or advance paid to an employee, now the net wages will be equal to wages due or wages payable. So the payroll has the following columns as I have explained. I can give you the format. Format of a payroll. So on top you write payroll. Then we have the various columns. We have the first column, we said you write the number of the employee, which we call serial number. The second column, you write the name. Starting, I said you start with, if you are using names, you start with the letter A. You write them alphabetically. Name, we have serial number, we have name. Another column which follows, we have the total hours worked. Total hours worked. Then we have the rate or wage rate. Wage rate, the amount which you are supposed to pay per hour. That's what we call wage rate. Then after the wage rate, we have now gross wages. The gross wage, meaning you have got the hours you have multiplied with the wage rate, You have got the overtime, you multiply with the overtime wage rate, you get the gross wages. Then we have the deductions now. Deductions, we said we have 3 compulsory deductions. We start with pay as you earn. Then we have an SSF and an NHIF. After the 3 compulsory deductions, you get the total deductions. So the total deductions, you subtract it from the gross wage to get net wage. So if there's any advance or loan repayment, you subtract from the net wage to get the wages due. Those are the columns. Those are the columns of a payroll. So we can count them: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. The symbol payroll has 12 columns, and each column you indicate the amount which is supposed to be indicated there. You don't mix. Even if you have calculated somewhere, you cannot come and say deductions, you write the total deductions. You have to show them so that they can know how much I pay to tax department, how much do I pay to social security department, that is for retirement, and then NHIF, how much did I pay for NHIF, so that the employee can understand the total deductions. So next we are going to look at how you are going to pay the wages and how you prevent dummy payment of wages.